Yo. Okay, I just want to record this because I have a feeling to speak about how I want to translate a bit how I understand music. The kettle might go off in a minute, by the way. I'm just making a tea. Got some fresh chamomile from around here. There's loads of chamomile and like pineapple weed as well. It makes it a bit sweet. I'll pick loads of that. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about like the way I see music, because I have lots of friends that are musicians. I talked about in quite a lot of my videos, some of them that passed away that I kind of grew with in doing the live art and stuff like that. So I wanted to okay, I'll talk about me and my friend Jules, for instance. So like my friend Jules is the one that's done loads of events with me, so we did a Thai foundation stage together. Well, like he did it with loads of other people. Which was one of the buskers from Canterbury High Street that passed as well. And then I used to put all my art up for the stage, so he used to bring it to my art uni sometimes, and then we'd do it at Small World and do it at other festivals. And he'd set it up, or he'd do things in the street, wherever he could get it up, we'd do that for the stage basically. And then he would always sort out, like, organise musicians, and I would organise the artists. So like if me and him just spoke, which a lot of the time we did, he'd organise them and I'd organise that, because that's who we were both like jamming with more often and stuff like that, or like learning off, sparking off and stuff like that. So we started to like merge them, and me and Jules have always hit a wall with each other of like understanding each other, but we've always been so busy like doing the events and stuff. We've always had to get on with it. So it's like I've tried to organise spaces and ideas that I've had. I tried to organise it, like ideas I've had, I've tried to organise it on the ground here. And a lot of it's just been met by like, oh no. So we've only really managed to get this going in certain places where they've managed to just fall into place. Like I'd ring him up or see him in the high street one day and go, oh, can we do this night? Or I'm doing this, like come here. So it would just happen kind of by happy accident, or it would be arranged like a week before or something like that. Kettle's going, one sec. So yeah, so we tried to organise like a lot of musicians to do things at certain times, and we've done like street parties in Canterbury, where we've like loads of our mates have helped us set it up or join in. So we've done events where they've happened. So like Jules has been hired to do something in this bar, or he's do like the jam nights, or he'll go do a bit outside in festival or do this, and or sometimes he'll call me and go like, oh, can you join in for this, or do you want to do something like this? Because I'm always painting in somewhere, in a room somewhere or something like that, and I'm always DJing music or having to like think about what music I want to then produce the art, blah blah blah. The two like bounce, and the two bounce for musicians as well, except that they're always more busy in diaries and things like that, whereas the live art is a bit different. When you're trying to link it, because like I said, it's like everywhere I go I'm doing a new painting. So it'd be like, imagine if a musician went round every time and did a new song on the spot, like got on stage and had to write a brand new spot there and a brand new song there on the spot, because that's what I'm doing really. And it's like quite hard work to even produce it in that speed, let alone think of it if you're trying to channel things like that at the time. But like painting to me now has become second nature. Like when you get in a car and you drive, it's like second nature. Or like when someone sings their whole life, it's second nature just to sing naturally. That's what painting's like to me right now. And it's also like another voice, where people, it's a voice, you know, I don't say anything and I can say stuff. So it makes you feel the same way when you hear music, it makes you feel. A lot of like musicians go to art galleries to look for inspiration in art to write music, and I always listen to music to feel my art, to feel whatever energy in it. I sometimes do slow music with no lyrics to then fast speed you and to like layer the layers, like almost DJ with different, if you like, genres and sets of energy frequencies, and then mix colour mattes on each of those, and you're making like almost mini holograms that you're compressing into one image. But that's light, isn't it? That's light, the hologram. That's how it is, because it's like above, below. So in the sky, you have like the gas clouds. They're not like 1D. So like science drawing is 1D, but they link like over fade each other. So that's how I blend my paintings together. Like I don't really draw so much, I paint. You can paint in drawing, but when you're painting image sometimes, like some people sketch it out, some people grid it out, but I'm literally just layering with the colour and then letting the colour speak to me as it's layering out. So I'm feeling emotion from that, from whatever colours I'm layering, and then I'm feeling emotion from music, and sometimes I can feed from the music and I can see colours, and then that produces it in the art. And sometimes I'm like pulling down the colours and then I'm adding them, so it's doing this feed effect between the two, and I find it's more like linked, like properly flowing when there's less lyrics. That's just my opinion from what I've been studying from myself, from everything I'm consuming, because that's what artists do. We consume everything we're around and then spit it out, like calculate it and then spit it out. But I'm clashing with Jules, and I couldn't figure it out for ages. Like, so I was like saying to him, give me instruments so I learn music. But I'm finding it really difficult with my dyslexia to memorise the notes. I don't like notes of music, but I'm like, how can I feel this? There's another layer to music that I can feel somewhere below, that I connect with on a very deep level, with my art as well. And I was trying to find a thread between the two to combine them. And I thought if I could get me and my friend Jules to communicate properly, but he's always busy because he's trying to survive, he's trying to run his house, he's now got a baby. Loads of our friends passed, like in a short amount of time over the last few years, so it shattered this group of people in a way. Well, it traumatised me a bit. I had friends also outside of that group that passed around the same time as well, so like I've just felt like I got hit by a truck with having to face this thing all about death and life and rebirth, and you know, I'm already in that subconscious space as an artist anyway, so it was even more of a bigger poof about it, you know what I mean? When you're living and you have these like structures around you and then they're not there anymore, like creative ones, because there's not always creative people aren't, you know, all there all the time. So I loved UCA bars, one of my favourite places to be, because of the way people could react there with each other. Like artists are almost whole like this all the time because they're in their own little world of what they create. So like if you've got one whole person there, one whole person there, one whole person there, they just thrive off each other. They're not so many collisions, or sometimes if there is a collision it can be a bit more dramatic, but they tend to just say what they want to say and everyone accepts it. And the debates had still there are just nice to see. But getting back to what I want to say about Jules and me was always not having the time to sit down with him properly, and like, because we've always seen each other here, we've jammed, I've painted to him doing music, but we've never actually looked at like the underground foundation, because I've always said these questions come up again and again and again, and the reason I'm making this video is because I wanted to know how people are bonding when they're creating music. Like I've always had this fascination with bands of people, because I've performed live art to lots of different sets of music, let's say sets of music, like in the street, to DJs at 4 a.m. in main clubs in London, gay clubs, you know, all different like settings, different types of people. London is like a pool of the world anyway, with all different cultures, because you get all the gay people, you know, from their countries that have been kicked out and they end up in London. Like most of the time I'd be out in the smoking areas and stuff in these places, I'd be giving therapy lessons, you know what I mean? It's like, look at all these psychologists getting paid all this money, yet it's like I'm getting paid £6.18 now to work in the pub because I chose to do my art. But but I give everyone free therapy forever. Like, how many people do you think have told me stuff that don't even remember themselves the next morning when you get the whiplash of all the drunk people? Anyway, so like there's the Pool of London there, but it's music is interesting. The way people are bonding to like you can paint to DJ like more electronic music, can see what it does to me, or like listen to different genres makes me want to produce different stuff coming out my body. So like when I juggle, I wake up one day and juggle. Depending on how I juggle, if I juggle high, fast, I could juggle a little bit off here and there, one part of my body. It like mirrors back to me how my energy is that day, or I use it to reset, rebalance myself and like mirror myself. If I need to do it quickly before I enter a painting or something like that, I have to use these kind of tools to do that. And it's hard to sometimes like be able to open channel and do that when you've got all these other people inputting when they're watching. This is where I find the balance really interesting, when you've got artists and musicians. Like when I was doing the live art, I've got my back to the audience, but they're pivoting out of the painting, not me. Whereas when you're a musician, you're looking out and they're pivoting out of you. But that space that we're all pivoting out of is a subconscious pool space, which isn't separate from everyone else. So that space where the musician takes into also isn't different from where they all are, because subconscious is a deep pool where we're all connected. So if you can find certain signature frequencies to get to that space, then they stand out. That's what the advertisements do, and that's what the media does. They notice how it triggers certain memories and how the space works of your file catalogue of your own stored memory things. And this is like puppet strings on like all your clairvoyances. So it's like your ears, your eyes, all your senses are getting pulled up and down in all these little worlds we go in all the time. And it is through like frequency, shape and form. So when I'm talking to Jules about music, I think what I've understood now, from because I lived at his house just before I came down here, when I was homeless for a bit, I stayed in his house. So I got to spend a bit more time with him, which was really cool. And then it clicked a few things for me about why all this was happening, which is why I keep thinking about it more now. And more so recently, when I wanted to, work more in music, a bit with the arts. Well, I always have tried to get a lot of my musician friends I do know to come into my art gallery, but I wanted them to work abstractly to what they normally do. And this is where I found the thing with me and Jules is that he's proper like jazz, so they learn all the notes. Whereas when I was playing the violin and that, because I wanted to learn that, and everyone said that's really hard. I said, yeah, but to me it's not, because I think I'm understanding music from a different angle, where I do understand layers of vibration from my colour and my paint, but not from scratch and starting music. I do understand some form of its ingredients. So it's like when I'm playing, I understand, if I paint, it has to be a bit of colour here, a bit of colour there, but it has to be even, and the colour has to be even. So when you're making track of song, it would be that same even kind of patterning and weavement of frequency. So the two like coincide. They're just different eye to ear, but you could do audio ear. You could swap the two. So I just say, oh, my ear likes that sound, my ear likes that sound, my ear likes that sound. I take that out, take that what I like, and then put it together. And then I'll find the balance, and I'll find where the things match and where they don't fit. Like cooking, for instance, it's the same thing. You've got different weavements of substance, of heat, of all different things, and then you're putting it all together. So it's the same like alchemic way that want to produce stuff. But there's ways of merging and combining where you can have win-win situations with someone. Like I might not like a situation, but I'll break it down to somewhere where I do, if it's going to meet someone else with a bridge in the middle. But I have to see where it is to be able to do that, like other people. But everyone enjoys music and everyone enjoys art, and it's all different, so we make different ones and put them together. So what I realised was I thought Jules made his own music. He doesn't make his own music, he just follows the notes. So when I'm talking to him about all this stuff, he just follows the notes. He doesn't understand that side, but I'm trying to show him. I know he hasn't got time right now, but I've been documenting some of it on my Facebook, so he's seen bits of it where you swap it around and you kind of make music. Like they've put the colour notes to the notes, because the rainbow colour with the wavelength was where they attached the notes to in the first place. So people were playing just through them notes, so the colour maybe balances a bit off sometimes with some notes. So like you could maybe put what the colours were and then paint, and then I could, like, you should be able to look at my painting basically if you learnt the notes to certain colours, which is what they've written to in the first place, and then play music to the painting. Or like maybe not one I've done already, but if I learn more about the music, then I was seeing that. So my main question, or not, or just something I'm looking at or thinking about now, is when people put bands together, like they don't know each other, because at Small World, the festival I painted at quite a lot, they move everyone around. So like one band will go, can you play with me, and they all kind of know each other, in a way. So you can do that, but then how do they go at the beginning? Or do you bond on that? Because I think it's important to bond with people. So when I was in Canterbury, we used to do a lot of dinner parties and that with musicians and artists to try and write stuff. And we do like certain vegan like food. We'd do like a buffet and set up candles in the table in the middle, and like we would try and we'd just have a giggle, and we just do that often and try and like anyway there we trade food with each other and that around the high street, because everyone don't live that far from each other and stuff, so everyone does that. So if you have that bond with people, you can then jam, or if other people jam with the notes. So I think I can hear when people know each other and they jam, I think is what I'm trying to say. And you can tell when people, like, I think there's a difference between the way the band is bonded underneath to how they, like, do you know that person well enough to know, oh, they might do that in a minute, and then you'll do that first because you know it'll harmonise well? Or are these people sometimes quite awkwardly put together just to earn money and do these kind of things? Do you know what I mean? There's like certain authenticities I can see in the way music is, and like I pick up on it when I'm painting. So like if there's certain places where I'm quite overstressed or the environment's quite stressful, not that great, I'll do like a painting that you can see it in the painting. I've done it before at places where I haven't felt that great before because I've been under large amounts of stress to create, and then it comes out. And then there's other places where I've been really looked after and the painting's amazing, and it literally is the mood I'm in at the time. So that's why I try and juggle or do stuff. But I wanted to like do a frequency band to edit. So like if someone's playing something, and this is without electric stuff, I'm just talking about just natural human or like wood or anything we make sound with. Anyone can make a sound, a kid can make a sound. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be all this like set up structure around it. And then like when you put a kid in front of a canvas with me, they're no different. I learn from them no matter what they put out. Do you know what I mean? They're learning the same way. You shouldn't have to like judge them for it. But when there is sound, it's like certain shapes as well, or music, like speakers are flat, yeah, and then we have the natural sound when people are actually making it out of drums and things like that. What if you had that in large amounts of people? That's like quite a lot of energy. But yeah, if you're painting at the same time and you're capturing what they're doing, so like if a band's communicating in a certain way, I'm reading that almost like a printer in a way, like a human energetic sponge, and then I'm spitting out what the music's reading through my body into the. That's why I like doing a lot of the same images sometimes, because I can just zone out in the image. It's still like good for people to see and understand, and it's still good for me after to have that signature for it, but I can properly loosen up in the colour bits in the middle, and that's where I get to enjoy myself when I do that, when I disappear in myself and just, you know, you get totally lost in all the colour and the energy and that. And that's what I like to do without all the stress of like worrying if someone's going to come up, grab the paint palette, put it on their face, you know, you go on the canvas. And I get this a lot at festivals when I'm out doing these things. It's like becomes like a babysitting job in the end. Instead of me trying to actually explore, it becomes something like a dancing monkey kind of performance. And that's not what I'm trying to get out for the people when I want to put healing in and stuff like that. That's why I was trying to give it to some people doing plant ceremonies and stuff like that, because there's been people with trauma of like sexual abuse since birth and things like that that are going into you know, some plant ceremonies and stuff here, and some of it's illegal in this country. And I can't even talk about it on here properly. You know, some of the stuff that has been going on, and it's like they need that healing. That healing's really needed right now for some people, and my art is helping some people in spaces like that, because it can pivot a point in and out of them in that deep place when you pull the trauma out and then you help heal it and then you put it back, you know. And understanding these forms of energy can be done, you know, with the music, with the arts, and it just needs to be like re-edited a little bit. So yeah, I wanted, I've been studying the thing about the people mixing, because there's just so many different vibes you can get off of different things like that. It's like I want to pick a bit of that vibe sometimes and just mix them together. So I do that on my own, like when I'm painting for long periods of time on my own. I'll do that. I'll pick up certain genres, different things, and I'll put them into the painting. But when it's live, it's so much more like energized, or just, it's nice. And I think the earth can feed off that as well if it's less toxic, you know, like those kind of spaces, because those would help grow food and things like that. And that is free energy. Like that person's giving out a sound, and then you're capturing that sound, and then that can feed back off itself. So anyone can creatively feed off another creative person, but we need to eat, so feeding off the earth. But then it's like, well, if I keep paying and going into the system, why am I giving them energy to other people? And I'm paying for this medicine to survive. It's actually making me more sick. It's like I'm paying to get more sick. It's like I don't want to go to all these clinical places. They're not helping balance my hormones. They're making me more sick. So I don't want to be around all these places. I want to be around nature and more healing places. It's pretty much illegal to even do that here. Like, what is up with that? So, yeah. Anyway, I'm out because I'm going to go sit out in the sun for a little bit. Ooh, okay. Hello, love. Bye.